This is a quick review of the BMW G310R. The bike is BMW's A2 bike. It has a 313cc single-cylinder engine producing 25 kilowatts, 34 brake horsepower and 28 newton meters of torque. To keep the price down, the bike is built in India. The bike has an 11-litre tank and does, with hard riding, 66 miles per gallon. With gentle riding, you should be able to get about 80 miles a gallon. As a result, your range is approximately 150 miles on the tank, which isn't too bad for a commuter bike. The engine itself, because it's a single cylinder, is very revvy. It will rev up to 10,000 revs. It's quite pleasing to ride, it's fun, but it's not overly powerful. 88 is its claimed top speed, though in real terms, motorway speeds are a struggle for it. I really quite like the styling of the bike. It's a fairly typical naked bike, but it's got some nice little design cues. For example, this extremely bright LED strip at the front. Build quality is generally good, with lots of little nice design touches. I rather like the detailing around the top of the handlebars. And also, as you move around the bike, you see things like exactly the same indicators as the RS and all the normal BMW bolts. And the quality of the panelling is really good as well. The dashboard is clear and easy to read and has most things that you'd want on it from a basic bike. To ride, it's really quite fun. Around B roads, it's quite nippy. The suspension does a really good job of giving you a sporty feel and also making the bike feel planted. And the engine makes quite a nice noise when it's revved. You do have to rev the bike quite a lot to get it going, but it's still very enjoyable. On the downside, the brakes can lack feel and power, which if you're not careful can get you into trouble. There's also a fair bit of vibration transferred up from the engine to you, especially through the handlebars and the seat. Though having said that, the seat is extremely comfortable. When I first got on the bike, there was a push at the back which I wasn't used to, and I thought this is going to feel strange. But in actual fact, once you get going, it's a nice comfortable seat and puts many bikes to shame. I do have some concerns about the bike though. My first concerns are to do with build quality. There are certain bits about the bike that give away its budget feel. For example, these wheels. Though they look quite nice from a distance, this ridge here makes the wheel look very much like it's pressed and it just looks cheap. The exhaust itself looks cheap, but the worst offender are these foot pegs. They truly are awful. The front ones are great, but the rear ones are atrocious. As said, the suspension does a really good job. However, it is a light bike, and you will find when you're driving slowly in town, if the road's a little bit rough, you will bounce up and down. This is to be expected and probably can't be avoided. The other silly thing that really annoyed me is this. You go to fill up the bike, pull back the fuel cap, I mean, I know it's silly, but it just gets in the way. The other thing I struggle with is why would you buy the bike? As an A2 bike, it's a little bit down on power. It's okay for commuting or back roads, but it's not going to do much when it comes to motorway travel, fast A roads, or any sort of distance work at all. It's not a versatile bike, if I'm honest. There are other bikes for similar money that can do a lot more. And unless you want a BMW badge particularly, I don't quite get it. I also don't quite get why BMW have this as their only A2 bike. The other thing I have to talk about is the price of the bike. Brand new, this model, with the black paintwork, is £5,190. For slightly more, you can get the Honda CBR650R, which has a lot more power and is a much better all-rounder. Or you get the Kawasaki Z500, again, more power, better all-rounder. But even more so, if you're after a smaller capacity bike, Triumph do their Speed 400, which they've just released, for £200 less than this bike. It has more power and gets rave reviews. Lastly, there's a host of Royal Enfields that may not have quite as good build quality, but will offer you a lot more range and choice, all for sub £5,000. All in, it feels like you're paying quite a lot of money for what is a 125 on steroids. The other thing is depreciation. If you look online, you can find one of these bikes at a BMW dealer, 1 year old with 5,000 miles for £3,200. That's £2,000 depreciation on a £5,200 bike. That's a lot of a drop. You can even find a pre-registered bike less than a year old for £3,900, so a £1,300 saving. As a summary, I'd say this. This is a fun bike to ride as long as you're going to use it on B roads or in town. It's nicely built, with a few little exceptions, and it does put a big grin on your face. I ended up deliberately taking it out for extra rides because I was enjoying myself, but I don't think it's worth it new. You're basically buying a toy, and if you're going to buy a toy, buy a pre-registered one or a second-hand one, because it's a lot better value and actually does start to make sense around the £3,500 price bracket where most of them are.
Pujama flip.
Pujama flip.